Hello, and welcome to episode 23 of the Falling Apart podcast. You are joined by your host, Sam, and Ricardo, who is sat in first class on his way to London. Ricardo, how are you?
I am fantastic, thank you. Can't complain.
The reason I know he's in first class is because I haven't been on a train recently where there was a drinks trolley that came past, and apparently a drinks trolley has just gone past asking if he wants anything.
Yeah.
It's all right for some, isn't it, Ricardo?
Hey, what can I say? It's all right for some. What you'll find is I'm going to sound a lot more polite than normal.
And you'll be pleased to know Tom and Jim are absent, as per usual.
Now, Jim's got a bit of an excuse because he might be at sea, mightn't he?
He could be down like the Titanic right now if I'm completely honest. We haven't heard from him in a couple of days, which is unusual.
Correct. So Jim is physically at sea and Tom is emotionally at sea.
What I would say, though, is when me and you go on holiday, not together, I may add, we always dial into the podcast. I'm always editing the podcast with a beer in hand from my holiday location.
Wherever you are.
Well, Jim and Tom go on holiday, no commitment.
2025, me and you are going to go somewhere.
Well, actually, we're going away next weekend, aren't we, to Belfast?
Correct.
And sorry if you can hear all the background noise. That I think is the drinks trolley still going past him.
The drinks trolley's gone back the other way. Yeah, it has.
So unlike our rival podcast, we're going to try and keep this fairly short and sweet because, as you well know, it's still the international break, at the end of the international break, and there's not been an awful lot going on in the world of Leeds United. So we were planning to cover a little bit about the international break and just to look at the player appearances that we've had over the international break, then go into what was going to be a FARC presser review, but then we realised it actually didn't take place today, which is, can I just add, it's Thursday at 14:45.
What you should say is we were going to do the podcast last night, but decided to wait until this afternoon so we could get the information from the press conference. That's how professional we are.
Totally. Should we get into the internationals then? Do you want to start with anything you've gleaned from the internationals?
I've got a little bit of a quiz for you. It's not a bad quiz. Do you remember on the last podcast we had, Jim said there are 13 players away on international duty. Yes. So I think he said that. Now, what I thought to myself was, who were those 13 players? So I thought, I'm going to ask you.
Before you ask me, can I just say, I actually have done some prep for this podcast, knowing it was just going to be me and you, and I've got 12 of the 13 names in front of me.
Hilariously, I've only got 11. So my test for you was going to be tell me who they are. And I did okay, but then there was a couple that I forgot at the end. But I've still only got 11, so I'd be interested to know who you're...
I'm going to quickly run down them.
Yeah. I've done it in notes so I can tick them off when you've done it.
So for the Wales senior team, we've had Carl Darlow, Joe Rodon and Dan James.
Correct.
And then for the Wales under-21 team, we had Charlie Crew. All I've got here on my notes is Carl Darlow kept a clean sheet, which is good. Joe Rodon played every minute of both matches for Wales. He also celebrated earning his 50th cap for Wales. And obviously Dan James returning from injury, he actually featured 118 minutes across the two games. So quite a lot going on for Wales as usual. If we then go into Max Verber for Austria.
Well done.
Unbelievably, he hasn't played much for Leeds, but he got a much-needed 90 minutes in Austria's 1-1 draw with Slovenia.
Can I just say you've done a lot more research than me? All I've done is thought about who the players are.
So next up is Junior Firpo for the Dominican Republic. They won twice over the international break, both times 6-1. And unbelievably, Junior Firpo did not score in either of those games. But they did beat Dominica 6-1 in a bit of a derby game. So, yeah, he played every minute of those games.
Can I ask why you think it's a derby game?
Well, I'm guessing Dominica and Dominican Republic must be close.
Just for a bit of going off on a tangent, the fruit trolleys just come past me.
Of course it has. Posh prick. Ao Tanaka played 90 minutes in Japan's win over China after sitting out their first match against Indonesia. Brendan Aronson, he missed the first game for the USA due to illness, but he played 21 minutes as a substitute against Jamaica. Tonto for the Italian under-21 played 105 minutes across two friendly matches. Solomon for Israel played 162 minutes. Interestingly, he played a full game at left wing back, so he might be an option for us in that position. And then last two, Matteo Joseph scored again for the Spain.
Right. Can I just stop you there? They are the 11 that I have, so I'm interested who the 12th is.
Well, I'm very disappointed in you, knowing that you didn't know that I actually played for Scotland under 19s.
Actually, I tell you why I didn't know that. It's because I only went down to under 21s.
Fair enough. He played, Sam Chambers played 137 minutes across 3 matches for Scotland under 19. Now, I must admit, and I'm sure our listeners will agree, that was basically me reading out a very shit segment of players at internationals. And can I confess that I haven't won one international game during this international break? I actually haven't thought about football over the last week and a half.
Well, I watched a little bit of Wales against Iceland the other night on Welsh TV, just so I could see, and it was so tedious that I turned it off. What we don't know is if anyone's been and he got any injuries. We know that Rodon did, but he carried on, then he played the next game, didn't he? So I think we're expecting, hopefully, a full bill of health. What I would also like to say is our rival podcast currently would be saying, when were Leeds players born over the course of the Leeds history, and putting them into a World Cup type competition based on the months they were born?
I don't think we're in a position to criticise when we used to do a quiz at the end of every podcast with Jim talking some bullshit.
Correct. True. So I think the benefit we've got is we play on Sunday, so we've got an extra day's rest. So what we're hoping is, we've heard nothing about injuries. We're hoping that everyone comes back. Yes, we're without Firmo because of suspension, but hopefully we're going to have the rest of the squad. But we will know this in 24 hours' time.
I think the only other takeaway from an international perspective, obviously for some of our players, the likes of Berber, they're pretty good to get some match minutes in the legs. So hoping that means they can do a job if they need to come on over the next few weeks as we go into a very important period for our promotion.
We do go into an important period, and I'm guessing he'll get called into question because of the upcoming yellow cards that could be something for Rodon and Bogle, I guess, under there soon.
Totally. I think that's enough of international, so let's move on to transfer rumours. Believe it or not, it's not coming from me this time. I normally give shit transfer rumours, but apparently Ricardo has an inside source who's given him a transfer rumour.
So if I can say, my inside source was me at lunchtime trying to second guess what you were going to say. So I looked on Football Insider, and there was 4 or 5 pieces of information saying that Leeds are potentially into James McAtee on loan from Manchester City in January, and singing his praises. And I think, it sounds. Who knows if it's got legs? I'm sure Jim will be crying in his beer listening to me again. But I think the key thing that what people say is that we need to try and get a number 10 or a creative player that really pushes over the line.
If you look at that,
So James McAtee is the only one I've got for you.
I did actually see that one. I think it's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see what we actually do from a transfer perspective? Because I think, like you just said at the end, I don't think there's many positions we actually need anybody in. Now, if it's a loan, obviously it's probably slightly easier as like a last bit promotion push. But other than probably a number 10, although Aronson is doing really well, so I think it'd be difficult to try and push him out of the team at the moment. And then maybe a number 9 again. But again, with Perot and Boring, I can't see the need for it.
Just as a bit more news for you, the wine trolley's now coming past.
This is fucking unbelievable. We're meant to be down. Obviously, without Jim's accent on it, we've got no credibility anyway. And you're fucking making it even worse.
Can I say the picture that Jim sent when what did he say he was drinking?
Oh, I can't remember.
It was like an orange punch cocktail, wasn't it? So his credibility has gone south as well. Yeah. So I think interesting. I was listening to, because Brendan Aronson still's getting a bit of bad press, isn't he? But the fact is, he scored more goals and had more assists than Matteo Joseph, who's meant to be one of our main strikers. So I think you're right. I think he's doing well. But if they can get a proper number 10 who could, I don't know, maybe that's the bit that we're missing. But I think you're right. I don't think we're missing a huge amount. I don't think we're missing a huge amount. Yeah.
But I'm sure over the coming episodes, we're going to be spending a lot of time on the transfer window as we get into December and the week.
The good news that we've got now is we've got games coming thick and fast, and there's no international break until March, I think. And we've got the transfer window coming up, so we're going to have a lot to fill our time with. So this This could be the calm before the storm, couldn't it, for all of our listeners? That maybe getting 20 minutes, half an hour out of us today, they're going to be getting hours of us over the next few weeks.
Yeah. And just to update listeners, I've just found the message from Jim on his. It looks like an orange juice, but it's actually called a Bahama Mama.
I rest my case.
Cool. Let's move on then, and we'll have a bit of a look ahead to Swansea. I'm reliably informed Ricardo has done some prep for this.
I've done quite a lot of prep on this, to be honest. Now, what I try and do when I look at these things is see where they are at 15 games in. So I try and look at who they've played, etc., etc. But then, of course, I found a website that had a lot of information. But they're in 11th place. They have won 5, drawn 4, lost 6, scored 11, and conceded 10. And then I went through the teams they've played, and out of the 15, they've played 9 teams that are in the top half. So it's basically, I'm going to say it, but a pretty good sample size. And they are kind of an average, I would say, championship team. Now, then I found a website. Very, very interesting. So out of their 15 games, they've played 7 at home. They've won 3, drawn 1, and lost 1. Scored 7, conceded 3. So obviously their home form is better than away form. But here is the interesting thing for you, Samuel. In the goals scored table, where do you think Swansea
are? Bear with.
You're going to look?
No, I think I've got this somewhere in my research. No, go for it. I can see that Swansea have scored just 10 non-penalty goals in 15 games is what mine is.
They've scored 11 goals, but they are bottom. They are 24th in the championship for goals scored.
Wow.
At Leeds is second for goals scored. Leeds have scored 24, the Swansea have scored 11. So, again, if you look at the 4, and this is, I'm guessing it's going to be the same for almost every game, Leeds are going to be overwhelming favourites, even though they're away from home. I've got some other time stats for you, which is that they have an overall win rate of 33%, 43% at home. It's obviously the stronger at home, so it's going to be a bit of a test. Now, what I don't know, Sam, is what time is the kickoff on Sunday?
3 o'clock.
Okay, right, okay. So I've got a load more stats for you.
Should we just let me? I've tried to group my observations up into a few themes rather than just spit out a load of stats. So the first one is just Swansea in front of goals. So they've got Zan Vitpotnik and Liam Cullen are their joint top scorers, but they have just 2 goals each. So no one is really bagging goals from them at the moment. And then from an assist perspective, there's only their winger who's called Ronald, who is Brazilian. He's the only player with more than one assist. And then also, if you think about that, so they've got quite a good possession stat. So they average 60% possession per game. Only we're ahead of them with 62%. But they make the highest proportion of backward passes in the league, with almost 20% of their passes going towards their own goal.
Just I put my bit of paper away.
I just ruined your stats. So look, I know we can be quite negative. We feel quite negative at times in the way that we play and the way that we keep the ball, and kind of lacking that cutting edge. But by all kind of measures, Swansea are much more negative than we are, and yet have kind of some similar stats.
But the good thing is 60% possession. Does that mean they're going to keep the ball and not sit back?
Potentially.
That might play into our hands, mightn't it? Which is promising. They're playing at home as well. So you'd think they can't, well, I guess they can sit back, but it might mean that we have more opportunities. I'm going to tell you the other opportunities we've got are Sunderland are away at Millwall, Sheffield United are away at Coventry City. So Millwall, obviously a pretty good team, and if you look at their stats, so Maiden's an opportunity there for one of those two to drop points. We'll know before we play, won't we? And then for us to attack the top 2 with them, let me into the Kingstrom. So I'm guessing we should do what we think our lineup is going to be. We know what Daniel Farker's like, don't we? So, I'm also thinking we're probably going to say the same things. But can you see any changes from the QPR game?
Well, obviously, we're recording this before the presser, so there may be some niggles that come back from international break, so we don't know what player fit. You'd expect if all the same players are fit, you'd expect a They're exactly the same team as Barker is a creature of habit.
Agreed. I think he'll be exactly the same team.
Excellent. Do you want to do a score prediction? Anything else to say on Swansea's form or anything like that?
Well,
I do have something else. Sorry. I do have something else. I am very critical of Leeds set pieces and our inability to score goals from them. But Swansea also have a similar challenge. They are unremarkable at set pieces. They've scored 2.
Unremarkable.
Unremarkable. They scored 2. That's a word, isn't it?
It is a word. You could have said shit.
Well, I like to bring the class up on this podcast. They scored only 2 goals from them this season. I think probably is one more than we have. I can only think of one goal from a set piece, but maybe I've got that wrong.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So, what do you think? Do you want you to go for a prediction, or do you want me to go? Because I've got it in my head what I think it's going to be.
You go, as long as it's not 2-0.
It's 1-0 Leeds, is what I think.
Right, okay. I also probably being optimistic. I do think we're going to win this one. I think the fact that Swansea tend to waste a lot of chances, and the fact that we've got Hero, which I'm hoping he starts up front against his old team, Dan James.
Right, can I just tell you, I'm pissed off again because I was just going to tell you Perot's back against his old team. Literally, I was just about to say that.
Well, I'm guessing we've all got the same sources, haven't we? Because I read the Yorkshire Evening Post.
Can I tell you the other thing I'm nervous about?
Go on.
We'll be in the yellow kit.
Right.
Oh. No, there's no rhyme or reason for that, is there? But
no. So I think we'll keep a clean sheet. I'm hoping for Mellier's sake, and I think we'll bag a couple of goals. So I'm going to go 2-0 Leeds.
Okay. I'm saying 1-0 Pirot. That's my.
I also think Pirot will bag a goal. I'm hoping for. Awesome. Well, I feel like that's fairly positive, and we are going to keep our promise to you to keep this quick. And I'll say they will become longer over the next few periods as we obviously go for many more fixtures and as we get into the transfer window. But cool. I think all that's left to say is thank you for listening. Short and sweet. If you do want to get in touch with us, you can get in touch with us on X, which is @FallingApartPod. Or, as emails are flowing in thick and fast these days, you can email us hello at falling apart. Oh God, we don't do emails enough that I keep forgetting what it is. Hello at thefallingapartpodcast.com. That's hello at thefallingapartpodcast.com. That's it for now. We will be with you on Sunday afternoon after hopefully a 2-0 victory against Swansea City. Catch you soon.